So you want to take a dark, dramatic portrait, but you don't have a fancy black background. Well, what you need is an invisible black background. And I'm going to show you how to make that happen right now. Welcome back to my YouTube universe where I post videos on photography, editing, behind the scenes, and encourage you to discover, create, and share. If you're new to photography or looking for inspiration, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and join us on this journey. We'd love to have you along. Okay, for this setup, I'm using a light beige wall here in my home, but this will work on even a white wall. I'll be using my Nikon D600 with a tripod, and for my flash, I'll be using the Godox V862N on a stand, and we'll be demonstrating this technique without a modifier, but I will be using a piece of cardboard, which I'll explain in just a minute. So basically, here's how this works. All light sources spill outside from the center of their source. Moving your light to the edge of that source is referred to as feathering, and that's how you get a nice gradient on backgrounds. To make this work, we simply need to cut off that feathering to prevent it from hitting the wall. To set this up, I have tape on the floor since I'll be doing self-portraits, but I would use tape even during a photo session so I can dial in my focus and lock it off. My flash is pointed across the wall, pointing right at me, and directed a little bit away from the wall. My camera angle is slightly off-center from the flash, which helps me get more of the light from the flash onto my face at this angle. I'm shooting this at night, but to increase the difficulty here, I have all of my lights on. It's very bright in here right now. But depending on your location and amount of light, your settings will differ. So I'm going to show you how to dial in your settings. Okay, so realistically, we know that at 100 ISO, in this light, I'll need a wide open aperture and about a 1/60th of a shutter speed. However, if you're a beginner, one thing you can do is set up your camera to aperture priority and let the camera give you a shutter speed and use this as a start point. So let's do that right now, and we're going to use f6.3 as our start point. So I'm switching to aperture priority. I'm at 6.3, and according to the camera at ISO 100, we are looking for 1/4 shutter speed. So that's a little slow. Normally I would bump up the ISO, but I want to try to keep the ISO at 100 because our goal is to get this to go black. So I'm going to take this first test shot. I'm using the self timer, and I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to strike a pose. Now I tried to hold still on that so that I could so that it would be somewhat sharp, but as you can see, it's what the camera has decided is a properly exposed photo. Okay, so now we have this properly exposed image, and you can see it's kind of boring. It's top lit, lots of shadows, so now we need to add some drama. So starting with your settings that you got from aperture priority, we're going to go back to manual mode and we're going to set those settings. So I know that I want to start at f4. So we're going to go up several stops. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll start with 10 stops, and I'm going to switch this back to single shot. And I'm going to take a quick test shot, and I want to see if this wall darkens up on us. Okay, as you can see, 10 stops. We're very dark, but we're not black just yet. And the goal is to go black. So I am going to keep going. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go 5 more stops and take a test shot. Okay, we're still getting a little bit of color up here. So I am going to go up to my flash sync speed. Now, flash sync speed is a subject for a whole nother video. Just know that on most cameras it's 1/200 or 1/250. On my camera, it's at 1/250 unless I have it bypassed in the menu settings. But in order for this to apply to most of the cameras out there, I'm adhering to the flash sync speed on this camera. So for any of you advanced users, that's why I'm stopping at 1/250th. All right, so we're gonna take another test shot, and now we've got a black screen. So that's what we wanna get to. So it looks like we've settled on 1/250. Our background is black, and we are ready now to add some light back in, which we will be able to control. So let's add a flash, and again, it's just 2 feet off the wall, feathered away from the wall, pointed directly at my tape point. It's actually feathered just a little bit off of me. So I'm gonna set my flash to 1/32 strength, and we're gonna do a test shot. And I'll come back over here and strike a pose. So now you can see we've got that dramatic lighting that we want. And it's okay if it's a little bit dark, because we'll be able to play with that a little bit in post. My main goal is to keep that back wall dark. What you're starting to see though is a little bit, it's actually still really dark. So what I can do is, let me go back to 1/200 and let me see what that does, because I want to be as bright as possible, and I'm expecting to get a little bit of spill off onto the wall. All right, so that's brightened me up a little bit, and now you're starting to see some of the color come back in the wall. And so now I'm going to show you how we fix that. So what we're going to do now to prevent that feathering is I'm going to use a second light stand. If you don't have another light stand, you can use a tripod. You can use a broomstick. You can use, anything tall enough that will hold a piece of cardboard in place. And I'm using a little bit of tape. You can also stick this directly to your flash. I've seen people do that. And the goal here is, as the light comes off the flash, it's gonna bounce off of this cardboard, and it will not be allowed to go past the cardboard and hit the wall over here. So that's what we're attempting to do. Okay, so I've clamped this directly to the flashlight stand. I'm just kind of bending it a little bit and shaping it, because I want it to catch that light and not let it go on the wall. So now we're gonna try that and see what happens. Okay, much better. So now I'm gonna do another shot of myself, and this time I'm standing just in front of this cardboard. Okay, so now that's really, really dramatic light. One of the things that I can do is I'm gonna move this flash just a little bit closer. I'm gonna make sure I keep it still off frame. And I'm gonna try this again, and you'll see the difference when you have the flash closer. There, you can see the difference between the two. Definitely much brighter. Okay, the last thing that I wanna do is I want to add a little bit of dimension to the image. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is I'm going to bring in just a white piece of poster board that is on another light stand. Again, this can be on anything that can hold it up. And I want to make sure that the light is going to bounce off my flash, hit this card, and bounce right back at me and not bounce back at the wall. So I'm gonna give this a little bit of angle here to make sure that it stays off the wall. And we'll see. I may have to experiment with it a little bit and see what happens. So take a test shot here. I am facing the camera. The flash is right off to my right, and the bounce card is just off to my left. You're right. Okay, so now I've got the card a little bit in frame. I need to fix that. But as you can see, we're getting a little bit of definition on the side of my face. And again, it might need to be brightened up a little bit in post, but you can see the side of my face and my arm. You see my arm on my left arm is completely dark, and on this image I'm getting a little bit of light. So again, this is one of those things where we can move this card a little closer to make sure it's off frame. I'm changing the angle of it a little bit. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bump up my flash speed to 1/16. I'm sorry, my flash strength to 1/16. And we will see what that does. Okay, so we're still black. So I'm gonna put this back on timer. All right, so we're gonna do a test shot here. So we're gonna do a shot here and test this at 1/16 power. All right, a lot brighter on that side, and we're getting more bounce on the other side. You can start to see my ear a little bit. And so just out of curiosity, I'm gonna spin this just a little bit and bring this around just to see what happens. So what I've done is I've just moved both of these sort of more behind me, just to kind of see if I can get more of not a hair light, but just some sort of a rim light to give me some shape. Yeah, I like that. The bounce card is, in camera, and I'm definitely getting some, dramatic stuff there, but I'm also getting some color back on the wall. So I need to turn the flash back away from the wall. I'm gonna do one where I'm facing right at the flash and just see what that looks like. All right. Okay, so in this demonstration, I did not use a diffuser on the flash, and I did that because I wanted you to see what I was doing by blocking the flash off. So in these particular portraits, I do have some harsh shadows, and I understand, they could be a lot softer with some diffusion. It's a little more complicated to block the feathering when you are using a diffusion material, but you can always use an egg crate, one of those directional inserts, and that can help you direct the light away. But I wanted to show you kind of what you could do with what you have on hand if you don't have an expensive modifier for your flash. So if you just have a speed light and you have some cardboard laying around, this is something that you definitely can accomplish, and that's how I do it. I hope this was helpful. If you give this a shot, please post your photos on Instagram and tag me at Gene Sizemore so I can check them out. And if you have any questions or concerns about anything that I covered today, please let me know. If you like this video, if it added some value to your life, be sure to hit that like button. If you've got ideas for future videos, be sure to leave a comment down below. I try to read and respond to all of them, and I will see you in the next video.